morning. Hello friends, welcome to or back to my channel. Today we are going to do my July TBR wrap up, kind of go over the books that I read in July. Oh my gosh. It's 7 in the morning. I am sleepy. But I'm a day late, so we're gonna get it done. Let's just go ahead and get into all of the books that I had on my TBR in July. If you did not watch that video, that was the first video on this channel, so it's about 2 videos back. The books that I chose to read in July, I only chose 3 because I knew I was going to be working a lot and going on vacation and doing a lot of different stuff with family. So the 3 that I chose to read were Dr. Sleep by Stephen King, You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose, and Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. Additionally, I also read Diary of an Oxygen Thief and Fight Club. Okay, so let's get into talking about these books, what I liked, what I didn't like, how I enjoyed reading them, what I rated them on Goodreads. And first up, we're going to do Dr. Sleep. So in my video that I made when I ended up picking this one, I think the TBR prompt was the smallest book in your library. This is definitely not like page-wise the smallest book in my library, but physically it was the smallest book on the TBR shelf at the time. So let me pull up my Goodreads real quick. Be my friend on Goodreads if you ever do want to see my reviews firsthand. So I actually was so scared to read this book. Well, not scared, but I really was dreading it because I love The Shining. It's one of my favorite Stephen King books. And so I had tried to read this book a couple months back and I just could not get into it. However, surprisingly, I ended up being glad that I gave it a second chance because I rated this book 4 stars. Is it as good as The Shining? It's different. All of these reviews, by the way, are going to be spoiler free. Or they're not really reviews necessarily, but just synopses. I'm not going to spoil any of these books. But if you read The Shining, this is obviously the sequel. And it follows Dan Torrance instead of 5-year-old Dan Torrance that we meet in The Shining. This follows Dan Torrance as an adult. So he's all grown up. He works in a hospice and he kind of earned the name Dr. Sleep because he's able to use his shining to comfort people who are passing away, and he kind of helps them, you know, pass into that next life. So that's how he earned the nickname Dr. Sleep. But also, there is a little girl in this book that it also follows. It kind of switches between the two of them, who is growing up to realize that she's kind of got her own shining. And he ends up kind of being able to be for her what Dick Halloran was for him at the Overlook Hotel. So he kind of gets to mentor this young girl and kind of helps her figure out the whole shining thing. And there is this tribe called the True Knot who actually preys on children. Let me turn all my alarms off. That scared me. So where was I? Yeah, so there's this tribe called the True Knot, and they prey on people that have the shining. So we kind of get to see how different people in this universe have a little bit of the shine versus more of the shine, and it does get creepy. It does get kind of scary. There were parts in here that seemed a little bit long, which is the same reason that I didn't give The Shining 5 stars. I think I also gave The Shining 4 stars. I do like The Shining more, which is pretty typical of like the first book versus the sequel. However, I thought this book was really good. After kind of hearing some people's opinions about it, watching a couple book reviews after I finished it, um, a lot of people did not love it as much as The Shining, but I think that it kind of summed things up pretty well. Like, I think it was interesting to see, what happened to Dan, or Danny as we kind of knew him in The Shining. What happened to him as he grew up? Did he follow in his father's footsteps? How did he, deal with The Shining as he got older? Did he ever escape the monsters and demons that haunted him at the Overlook Hotel? And we kind of get into that. I do have like a little bit of an issue with the ending. It felt a little bit more rushed. Like, I do wish there was an extra like 50 to 100 pages. I wish the ending was kind of drawn out a little bit more. It made sense, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I would have liked a little bit more at the end. I would have liked a more, full circle kind of ending. If you read it, you know what I mean. But like I said, I'm not going to spoil it or anything. But yeah, all in all, I am really glad that I finished it, that I gave it a second chance, because I thoroughly did enjoy reading it for the majority of the book. So, Dr. Sleep by Stephen King, 4 stars on Goodreads. So next up, You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. I gave this book 3 stars on Goodreads, which if you check out my Goodreads, in my description for my profile, I kind of have what the different ratings mean to me. 3 stars does not mean a bad book. It just means like, yeah, it was good. It was okay, I didn't necessarily have any big feelings towards it, which is what I need to have in order for, a book to get 4 or more stars. This book is about a woman named Grace who does this really interesting thing, actually, where every year she throws a dart at a map and she goes on vacation. Like, she books an Airbnb in that area and she goes on vacation there. She spends like a week. I believe it was 6 or 7 days that she spent. So she books an Airbnb at a ranch in Wyoming, and she meets Calvin Wells, which is the owner of the Airbnb, and immediately she's like, this is a handsome guy, and they kind of start to hit it off. They kind of start to hang out a little bit, but the longer she's there, the more things kind of start to unnerve her in this small town. The people there have like some off things about them. Calvin she's like attracted to him, but she's like, there's something off about you. So it is very suspenseful. It is very fast paced. I will say it's definitely a page turner. It is kind of hard to put down. But all in all, I didn't necessarily feel like I was rooting for any one character. The ending was wild, and I can't really decide if it was wild in the best way or the worst way. It definitely was unexpected, so I do like when I can't expect or I can't predict the ending of a book. So that part was nice. But yeah, I didn't necessarily, there were no parts in this book where I was like gripping it, like actually truly scared. There was one scene that was like a little bit creepy, and I was like, ooh, like they wrote that pretty well. But all in all, it was quick. It was, like I said, a page turner. It was difficult to put down, and it read well. I just overall, didn't get any big feelings. It's probably not a book that I'm going to remember for years and years. The characters weren't super memorable. The plot was interesting though. As someone who has booked a creepy Airbnb, I definitely did relate to some of the things that she was going through, but I would recommend this book to someone who kind of likes thriller books but doesn't like to be super scared, because it was pretty tame in that sense. But yeah, You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. I gave this one 3 stars. Next was Remarkably Bright Creatures. I also gave this book 3 stars on Goodreads. This was a very sweet book. I wouldn't necessarily call it a mystery. It's almost more of just like a simple, easygoing, So I would say that this book was a little bit out of my comfort zone. I typically like to read like mystery, thriller, scary books, or like deep philosophical books. And this book was like written very beautifully. The author definitely made me care about an octopus more than I ever thought that I would. But there is kind of a small mystery that you get to try to piece together on your own. And it did have a little bit of a twist at the end that I wasn't expecting. The more that I talk about it, the more that I'm like, I almost would rate it 4 stars, except that there weren't any points in the book where I just like where my heart was beating, or not even just from like being afraid, but I didn't cry, I didn't, nothing really happened that gave me a very, visceral response or anything in the emotions department. This follows a elderly woman named Tova, and she is a janitor at the Sowell Bay Aquarium, and her husband has recently passed away. So she's, a little old lady all on her own, and she has this group of friends that she meets with every week, and they, get together. It's, other older ladies her own age, and it was interesting. It was interesting reading about an older protagonist, because I typically don't read books like that. But I hope that when I'm Tova's age, that I also have an amazing group of friends that support me, and that I get to meet with, once a week, or I don't remember if it was once a week or once a month, but they all get together, and like one of them bakes cookies, and everyone else in the group knows that there's definitely store-bought cookies, but she likes to put them in the oven anyway and pretend that she baked them, which I thought was like pretty cute. But when her son was 18, he went missing, and the case went cold, and they never found him. They never found out what happened to him, never found his body, anything. He just completely went missing. And like I said, she is a janitor at this aquarium, and she ends up befriending an octopus. Like, she talks to him, and I actually feel like I did kind of learn a little bit about the Pacific octopi. There are like little excerpts in here throughout the book from the octopus's perspective. What was his name? Marcellus. Yeah. So there's little bits in here that are from Marcellus's perspective, and those were really cute. Those did make me giggle. Those were funny. Just especially because he's kind of like, what are these humans doing? Like, they're so weird. What is going on? But it was kind of funny getting to see what humans look like through this like super intelligent octopus. But anyways, in addition to exploring Tova's life in her later years, her relationship with Marcellus, there also is another main character, Cameron, and he just cannot get it together. Like, he's getting to the age where all of his friends are getting married and having children, and he can't hold a job. He has a lot of emotional issues. He has a lot of like past, trauma that he's dealing with. And we kind of followed them separately for a while, but then their paths kind of start to cross, and we kind of see a little bit of a friendship blooming between them. There definitely is a lot of central focus around loneliness and how much of a difference friends can make in your life, and good people that support you and, help you get through the hard days. And like I said, I would have rated this book 4 stars had I, cried or felt like I deeply related with any of these characters. But I do feel like it's kind of difficult to relate to a protagonist who's so much older, than you. But who knows? I mean, this could be, a reread later on in life, when I have a child, and or, when I'm significantly older or anything like that. But it is a good book, and I would recommend it to someone who, wants a feel-good book with like a little bit of a mystery that you kind of have to try to unravel yourself. The ending was really good. I really did enjoy the ending. Yeah, there weren't any parts in this book that I felt like were long and drawn out, or like, oh my gosh, when is this chapter going to end? This was thoroughly from front to back a really enjoyable read, and I would recommend this to someone who wants something, a little bit silly, a little bit, not too sad, but like a little bit sad and dealing with loneliness and, overcoming past issues and, settling into life as an adult for Cameron and as an older woman for Tova. But it's sweet. It's very sweet. So those were my 3 books that I chose with the TBR prompts last month. But I also read 2 extra books. This one, the video right before this one is a thrifting haul. So this is one of the books that I picked up while I was thrifting. I think that I forgot to put it in the video because I had it in my stack of books that I've read this month. This is Diary of an Oxygen Thief. I found this in a Goodwill and I picked it up because I had seen it circulating on TikTok or Instagram or somewhere at some point. I think probably a couple months ago. I had seen this book numerous places.
It was horrible.
I did not like this book. And I'm not alone in that judgment. This book just follows I think that the author wrote this book intending for the reader to not like the narrator, but it wasn't the kind of book where it's like, oh, you love to hate them. Like, no, I just wanted him to shut up. So basically, it follows this guy who enjoys inflicting emotional pain on women. And that's the book. Like, he just talks about how he enjoys hurting women emotionally. Like, the first sentence in the book, let me just give you a little synopsis here. This first little bit summarizes the whole book. Don't read it. You don't need to. Um, it says, I liked hurting girls. Mentally, not physically. I never hit a girl in my life. Well, once, but that was a mistake. I'll tell you about it later. He just enjoys emotionally assaulting women. And he talks about it for like 147 pages. And it's just very narcissistic and disgusting. And the author is anonymous, probably a good thing. I think my ex might have written this book. It's vile. Like, it's just not a good book. It's not like the good kind of bad where you're like, oh my god, this is horrible, I can't put it down. No, I put this down. It's never taken me so long to read 147 pages. And then, like, I guess he gets, because I thought, well, oh, maybe at the end, because he kind of alludes to in the beginning, like, well, he can talk about it now because justice has been done and he has paid for his sins and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, well, maybe, like, someone will put this guy out of his misery at the end of the book. Like, I wanted him to die. Like, I hated this narrator. I hated this man. He's just such a crappy, narcissistic person. And, like, all of the reasons that he was justifying.
Well, like, I like to hurt women because I'm hurting, and hurt people hurt people.
Like, the things that he was putting these women through, like dating them for 4 years just to take them to a bar one day and look him in the eyes and list off these horrible things about them that he hates, and then saying that he loved, like, the shine in their eyes that they would get when they looked at them with their puppy dog eyes and when they were about to cry. Ew. Like, why? And he would say really hurtful things to these girls and make sure that they were, like, in love with him before he dropped these bombs on them or, like, cheated on them openly or, like, just ew. But like I said, I thought maybe there'd be this huge revenge thing at the end where one of these women, like... Unfortunately, that didn't happen. The I guess, paying for his sins or whatever that he received was just a girl, like, making fun of him one time. And he kind of liked her. And then at the end for the author, I don't know if the author's, like, removed from the narrator, if this is literally diary entries of this author. If so, I don't even want to know who he is because jail. At the end, he talks about, like, oh, like, when I publish this and you guys decide to make a movie, just, like, go ahead and do this. And when this scene happens, like, fade to black and play this song. And who do you think you are? No one is making this into a movie. This is 140 pages of him just talking about how he likes to be mean to girls. It was just gross. It was stupid. I gave it 1 star, and I said this was a waste of my time. I finished it. It sucked. Literally don't read it. Like, I would tell you if it was so bad it was good. It's just bad. None of it's good. It's horrible. My life has been made worse for having read that book. Thank God I already have a boyfriend, because if I didn't, that book would make me be like, oh my gosh, like, are there men like this out there? What in the world? Just manipulative, narcissistic. No thank you. We're moving on. It's done. Fight Club. So I did try to read this book a couple months ago, and it's not that I didn't like it. What? It's not that I didn't like it, that I didn't finish it. I think I got busy and I never got around to it. I watched the movie. Um, this is like an extremely classic movie. A lot of people have seen this movie. Um, Huge twist in it. If you have seen the movie, high praise for that movie adaptation. Like, I loved the movie before I ever read the book, and now I feel like I love the movie even more for having read the book. And I feel like my reading experience was elevated because I had watched the movie. And oh my gosh, it's almost word for word. I've never seen a better movie adaptation of a book. Like, I could hear the narrator in the movie, like, these, his lines when he was acting came straight out of this book. Like, I could totally hear it in his voice. Let me Google that actor's name because he did a great job too. I know we all just remember Brad Pitt, but he really did a great job too. Edward Norton. Like, I heard him. The narrator for this book, I heard the movie. Like, I was playing all of the movie scenes out in my head. And I do wonder if that, like, how that would have changed my reading experience. I love the way that this book is written. Like, I don't know what the word for that is. Please, if you know the word for what I'm about to describe, or like the type of book that's called, please put it in the comment section, because it kind of reminds me of, oh, it's behind a bunch of books. I'm not going to grab it. It kind of reminds me of I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which is probably my favorite book in the whole wide world. It's up there. That book is so good, and the way that this one reads, it's very similar. Like, it's very, you feel like you're reading in someone's thoughts, and he'll mention something and then, like, talk for a little bit, and you're like reading a couple chapters, and then he'll mention that thing again, like a thought though, like not a fully finished thought. Oh, I don't know how to explain it, but I love that type of narrating where, like, it kind of can get philosophical, like they're kind of like talking on a, higher educated level, like, using some bigger words, or like using metaphors and symbolism, and I don't know, it's like a poetic way of writing. Anyways, sorry that I'm assuming that you've seen the movie or read the book. If you have not seen the movie or read the book, this is about a man who is like super bored with his life, right? Like, he has a well-paying job, he has a condo, he is like a mass consumer. He's got, all the different IKEA things. He's got all the different like home shopping magazines, like he's ordering stuff. He is his life is just kind of mundane, and he kind of gets stuck in, what am I doing with my life? Like, I wake up, I go to work, I come home, I eat, I wake up, I go to work. Well, actually, he has insomnia. So he also struggles to sleep. So, and his doctor like won't prescribe him any pills or anything for it. So, he just feels completely stuck in this cycle of, go to work, eat, come home, buy something off of a magazine to make myself feel, full, catch a plane to go on this, to go to this business meeting that my boss tells me to go to because he doesn't want to go to them because they're too boring. Do this equation for my job. He works for like for a car company, and he basically does the math to decide if they're going to recall a car, which is terrifying, by the way. Like, him going into detail about how basically if it's going to cost more for them to recall the car than I don't remember the exact math of it, but basically, like, he does the math to see if it's worth the company recalling. kind of sketchy, kind of scary. But yeah, so he's just super stuck in his life. He's super bored. So he starts going to these random support groups that he has no business being in because he feels like people listen to him, and he's like able to cry with them, and if he does cry, it helps him sleep. And then he meets Tyler, and him and Tyler, end up fighting when they get drunk outside of a bar one day, and they realize that they feel alive when they fight. So they start a fight club, and they like have all these rules. Like, first rule about Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. That's also the second rule. And then the third rule is like 2 men to a fight, only 1 fight at a time, like that type of thing. So they start bringing in these other men who feel similar to them, like stuck in their lives, and they fight each other. I can't really tell you any more than that because I don't want to spoil it if you haven't read it, because you should read it. I do highly recommend. I rated this 4 stars. There were multiple times where I was like enthralled. I listened to this partly on Audible, and then I physically read some of it as well. And it's just so good. Like, it really is such a good book. Rated it 4 stars. So those are all 5 of the books that I read this month. And now it is time to pick. Should I do another 5? We'll do another 5. So let me go ahead and bring the card up here now that we have all of our new thrifted books on here. And we will pick 5 books to read this month. And then if I get to them all, I get to them all. And if I'm able to read more, then I'll read some more. Okay, so we've got our little skull TBR prompt jar here. I do think I'm gonna kind of stray from reading series for the moment, unless, well, like these are 2-book series. I don't know. We'll see. I'm kind of wanting to knock out some of these standalone novels, just so they can be done, checked off. I don't really like starting, unless I have the full series and I'm gonna read the full series. I don't really like starting book 1 and then reading book 2 like a couple months later and then reading book 3. I feel like that kind of messes up the experience for me, so I don't really like to do that. So let's just see what we get. Okay. Oh, okay, so this one says a 5-star prediction. So this is a book that I think I'm going to rate 5 stars. And that's tricky because I don't rate a lot of books 5 stars. I think there's maybe 2 or 3 books on my Goodreads right now that are 5 stars. So let's see. A book that I think is going to be a 5-star read. Tell Me Lies. My mom showed me this show on Hulu. It's a phenomenal show. I did not know that there was a book version. So I loved the show. Like, I made multiple people in my life watch it. I really enjoyed it. Very like drama, kind of romance, but more drama. So I really think I'm gonna super, super enjoy this book. Dare I say, give it 5 stars. Something I forgot to mention, me and a friend of mine are actually reading The Institute by Stephen King together this month. And then we're going to review it. So that's already going to be 1 book on my TBR. So The Institute by Stephen King. I don't have a copy of it. She's going to get us a copy of it later this week, I think. So I will have a copy of it physically. I think I might have it on my Kindle, but I will have a physical copy soon. Let's see what our next prompt is. Okay. This one says real cover. So, like, not an illustrated cover, like an actual picture of something. I need to put my clothes in the dryer. Sorry, I have to go to work in like an hour and a half, so hey, she took my TBR prompt. Yeah. I have to go work. I have to go to work in like an hour and a half, so my clothes need to be in the dryer. Anyway, so we've got quite a few options here. So this one is The Night of the Gun. So this one is about this one is actually a memoir about a man, it looks like a father, who suffered like addictions and stuff, and I guess he recounts his story. So there's definitely real pictures on there. There's American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. There's an option, American Psycho. First Lie Wins. I can't really tell if is that a real, that looks like a picture, right? Or do you think that's a drawing? I don't know, it looks pretty real to me. I've seen this on TikTok a good few times. I don't know if that one sounds super interesting to me. So we're gonna put that one back too. And then A Little Life. I started this book a couple months ago and could not finish it. I just was not in the right mental space to be reading such a sad book. And I still don't think I am, actually. So, yeah, on second thought, we're going to put that one back too. So, it's between the two. I think I'm going to go American Psycho. Because someone on the back has said, a great novel. What Emerson said about genius, that it's the return of one's rejected thoughts with an alienated majesty, holds true for American Psycho. There is a fever to the life of this book that is, in my reading, unknown in American literature. Sounds interesting. I don't know. Let's go into it blind, shall we? I bet some of you watching are like, I've never even seen the movie, so I really don't know. I think it's scary though, right? I don't know. We'll see. So far we've got 2 here plus the one me and my friend are reading together. I think we're actually going to do a review video together. I think that would be fun. Okay. So I got a good one. Won an award. So this one says won an award. So I'm going to be looking for ones that like have the award right on the front. Like this. A Little Life does. So, To Kill a Mockingbird, Life of Pi, which I've already read, so that would be a reread. A Little Life. And this one is pushing it, but it says a New York Times book review, best book of the year. I don't think I'm ready for this one mentally yet. This one I'm not super in the mood to reread. And I think I'm going to go with Room. Because if you watch my last video, I am very intrigued about this book. So basically what I'm getting from the synopsis on the back is that there's this room that a mom and her son live in, and the son doesn't think anything of it because he's 5 years old and it's just the room that he's always lived in. But it says that the mom sees the room as the prison that she's lived in for 7 years. And I'm like, okay, who put them there? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean you're trapped in there? So we're going to go with this one. One more. Highly rated on Goodreads. Okay, here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to find one that I want to read. Or I'm going to find like a couple that I want to read. And then we're going to see how high they're rated on Goodreads. And whichever one is like the highest rated, we'll choose that one. So one moment while I pick through the ones that I'd really like to read. Okay, so I picked a couple that I would be interested in reading this month. A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime. I'm interested in reading this one because I don't read like a ton of romance, and this one apparently at some point was viral on TikTok because it says so on the front of it. I don't know. So we'll look up that one. This is Thinner by Stephen King. The idea of this book is very interesting to me. Like, a man is trying to lose weight, but then he starts and he can't stop because like a curse or something is put on him, a spell, I don't know, and he like can't stop losing weight. I don't know. That seems intriguing to me. Never Lie by Frida McFadden. I've not read any of her books yet, so I do want to start reading some stuff by her because I have the first Housemaid series, and that is a series that I would like to read if I kind of get a feel for her and see if like I like her writing style and all that. And then Something Wicked This Way Comes. I've wanted to read this one since Mike from Mike's Book Reviews on YouTube said that it was like his top 3 favorite horror novel in the world. And Stephen King says on the back of it, a darkly poetic tale. It is probably Bradbury's best work. So let's see which one is highest rated. Okay, let's see. Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. 3.91. Never Lie by Frida McFadden is 4.10. So already this one is winning. Thinner by Richard Bachman, 3.77. And A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime is 3.77. This is the second book to something? Oh no. Oh no. There's 8 of these books. But are they... Can you read them standalone? I'll have to do more research on that one. It doesn't win anyway. This one wins by a landslide with 4.10 stars on Goodreads. So, this one. Alright, so let's talk about the books that we will be reading this month. Okay, so for the prompt won an award, we have Room, which won the New York Times Book Review Best Book of the Year. It also says it's soon to be a major motion picture, so maybe after I read it, I can watch it. So it says, To 5-year-old Jack, room is the world. It's where he was born. It's where he and his ma eat and sleep and play and learn. At night, Ma shuts him safely in the wardrobe where Jack is meant to be asleep when old Nick visits. Room is home to Jack, but to Ma, it's the prison where she has been held for 7 years. Through her fierce love for her son, she has created a life for him in this 11 by 11-foot space. But Jack's curiosity is building alongside Ma's own desperation, and she knows that Room cannot contain either much longer. Room is a tale at once shocking, riveting, exhilarating, a story of unconquerable love in harrowing circumstances, and of the diamond hard bond between a mother and her child. So, Room by Emma Donahue. For the prompt, a 5-star prediction, we've got Tell Me Lies, which I'm pretty sure is going to end up being a 5-star if the book is as good as the show, and I'm assuming that the book is better than the show. So on the back it says, Lucy Albright is eager for a fresh start when she arrives at her small California college and immediately embraces all that college life has to offer. New friends, wild parties, stimulating classes. And then she meets Stephen DeMarco. Charming, attractive, complicated, devastating. Stephen sees something in Lucy that no one else has seen, and she's quickly seduced by the sense of possibility that his attention brings her. Meanwhile, Stephen is determined to forget an incident buried in his past that, if exposed, could ruin him, and his single-minded drive for success extends to winning and keeping Lucy's heart. Lucy knows there's something about Stephen that isn't to be trusted. Stephen knows Lucy can't tear herself away, and their addicting entanglement will have consequences they never could have imagined. With psychological insight and biting wit, Tell Me Lies chronicles the yearning ambitions, desires, and dilemmas of young adulthood and the difficulty of letting go even when you know you should. That sounds good to me. So, there's that one for the 5-star prediction. For highly rated on Goodreads, Never Lie by Frida McFadden. This says, newlyweds Trisha and Ethan are searching for the house of their dreams. They think they've found it when they visit the remote manor that once belonged to Dr. Adrian Hale, a renowned psychiatrist who vanished without a trace years ago. But when a violent winter storm traps them at the estate, the house begins to lose its appeal. Stuck inside and growing restless, Trisha stumbles on a collection of audio transcripts from Dr. Hale's sessions with patients. As Trisha listens to the cassette tapes, she learns about the terrifying chain of events leading up to the doctor's mysterious disappearance. With each tape, another shocking piece of the puzzle falls into place, and a web of lies slowly unravels. But by the time Trisha reaches the final cassette, the one that reveals the entire horrifying story, it will be too late. Ooh, that sounds good. I didn't even know what this was about, but that sounds good. My hair looks crazy, y'all. Sorry. It's drying. So that sounds really good. 4.10 stars on Goodreads too. Not bad at all. Okay, so second to last, a real cover. So, like, this is a photograph, I believe. It looks like a photograph. Some of y'all are about to be like, no, people can just draw that good. I can't. I don't know, that looks real to me. It's real enough. We're reading American Psycho. This one says, Patrick Bateman is handsome, well-educated, intelligent. He works by day on Wall Street, earning a fortune to complement the one he was born with. His nights he spends in ways we cannot begin to fathom. He is 26 years old and living his own American dream. So, there's that one. And then the 5th book is going to be one that I do not have a hard copy of yet, but it is The Institute by Stephen King, and I will read what it's about. So the book description online says, in the middle of the night in a house on a quiet street in suburban Minneapolis, intruders silently Luke Ellis's parents and load him into a black SUV. The operation takes less than 2 minutes. Luke will wake up at the Institute in a room that looks just like his own, except there's no window. And outside his door are other doors, behind which are other kids with special talents, telekinesis and telepathy. The Shining? Who got to this place the same way Luke did. Kalisha, Nick, George, Iris, and 10-year-old Avery Dixon. They are all in front half. Others, Luke learns, graduated to back half, like the Roach Motel, Kalisha says. You check in, but you don't check out. In this most sinister of institutions, the director, Miss Sigsby, and her staff are ruthlessly dedicated to extracting from these children the force of their extra-normal gifts. There are no scruples here. If you go along, you get tokens for the vending machines. If you don't, punishment is brutal. As each new victim disappears to back half, Luke becomes more and more desperate to get out and get help. But no one has ever escaped from the Institute. As psychically terrifying as Firestarter, and with the spectacular kid power of It, The Institute is Stephen King's gut-wrenchingly dramatic story of good versus evil in a world where the good guys don't always win. Oh, this one has 4.20 stars on Goodreads, too. Nice. So yeah, I will be reading that with my friend, so keep an eye out for the review of that book. That's going to be fun for us to do together. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and head out. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have not already, watch my thrift store haul video in which I talk about a lot of these books that I recently got while on vacation thrifting. And I hope that you have an amazing day and stay safe. All right, bye.